Hey, well, here we are. Um, I decided to re-record this. I had some technical problems. So anyhow, we'll dive right into it. We got this, what we were looking at last week was this pushing of code into classes. And this week, I really want to focus on this new rule of don't use getters and setters. And then we're going to practice eliminating getters and setters as a refactoring. And then we have a little time at the end, we might discuss the common affixes, code smell. But that in mind, let's do this thing. So before we do all of that, there are a couple of things that I didn't take care of last week. And the first is this move horizontal method here. You've got this move horizontal in the stone class, and that's the same as the move horizontal in the box class. And you see we got this is falling equals false, is falling is resting. Well, you know, is falling, if we'll set a bookmark here. If you look, this is falling, the is falling is related to the falling state, right? So if we go to the falling state, is falling, basically it's one or the other. It's either falling or it's resting. So if it's not falling, then it's resting. So we come here. So basically we'll say if this dot is resting, did I do that wrong? This dot is falling, is falling. How do we do this here? This dot falling dot is resting, right? Here we go. There we go. Right, because that's how we're getting this set up. So basically, it's effectively the same, and we can test that, rebuild it, and refresh that, and you can see that things fall as expected. Both the rock and the box, the stone and the box fall. Okay, so now what we want to do to sort of clean this up a bit, you know, these both have to do with the falling state. So what we'll do is take this move horizontal method and we will add that to here. And basically it only happens when we're resting, right? So add it to the interface. And here we go. Now this falling is resting. Well, we are resting. So we can just take that check out. And now the other thing we want to do here with this move horizontal, why is this not compiling here? What's the problem? Implementation missing, not immediately following the deck. Oh, because we don't do that. Okay, so if we look at this, basically it's a stone that we're saying is falling, is resting. So basically what we want to do is we want to set this, basically this tile here. This was supposed to have been changed long ago as well. So I will go ahead and do that here. What we'll do is we'll pass in change that. Okay, and oh, that here. And we need to add it here as well. Okay, so we got that. And then we'll come back down to where we've got this, and we'll just say this dot falling dot horizontal. Pass in this dx. So we get rid of that code, and then we come down to box, Do that, same thing. So we've basically, taken that code, the duplicated code, and combined it into the class that really is the only thing that uses it. Let's go ahead and build that, make sure that we have it right. Okay. Fresh, we go here. Box falls, stone falls, and everything works as expected. So let's go ahead, check that in. So we moved the move horizontal method to the, what did we move that into? The falling state. Falling state objects. To reduce duplication. Okay, check that in, and we are good. Now, the other thing that you need to look at here is this in the fall strategy. So if you look here, we've got this, the stone, where are we here? Box, stone, there we go. So in the stone, we've got the fall strategy here, and what we do is we set this falling state here in the fall strategy. So we pass that in, and we keep that as a local member variable. Well, we don't need to. We just need to, here, let me go look at my code here. Stone, here we go, boom. So right here. So basically the falling state has the falling, whether or not it's falling, right? So I shouldn't keep that as a local variable. I should pull that out of the fall strategy. So in order to do that, we'll go and go to our fall strategy, and we will add a method called get falling. That will return this falling. Okay, so basically we've got our local variable here, and we don't need to have our own copy of it. So we can just get it from there, and we'll do this here. So we'll say this dot will be falling strategy, falling state, it'll be fall strategy. This dot fall strategy dot get falling. Move horizontal, and it'll be here as well. New falling. So we'll say, we'll get back to that. This dot fall strategy dot get falling is falling. Okay. So drop this dot falling. We'll actually change that to this dot fall strategy equals a new fall strategy, new falling. Same thing here. Strategy, new fall strategy, new fall, new resting. Okay, because we don't want to have our own copy of that variable if we don't need it. We want to be able to get that from the one place where it's stored. Okay. Now, if we go here, the accessors move horizontal here, fall strategy. Right, so we've got that set. Now, see, do we do that here as well? Right. Same thing here. This dot fall strategy dot get falling, move horizontal. This fall strategy dot get falling is falling. And we'll say this dot falling and resting. I bet we could just copy that from up here, right? Drop is falling. There. Okay. Don't you just love the copy and paste approach to doing code? I suspect this is going to be a what you call a temporary change for refactoring purposes. Let me make sure that I've got this finished here. So in the fall strategy update method, pass X, Y, check, see if it's an error, this falling. Oh, drop. Oh, I see. So basically, what we're saying is we want to effectively get rid of the drop method. All right, so let's look at that. Where is drop? That does nothing. That does nothing. That does nothing. Basically, the stone, we have a drop where we mess with the fall strategy, and the box messes with the fall strategy. The key does nothing, and the lock does nothing. So, right. So what we want to do is basically, see, I told you this was temporary. So we go up to our fall strategy. Boom, we've got our drop and our rest. So we say that this dot falling equals new falling, right? Just what we had before we went and changed it. Equals new resting. Okay. We can look at this and we say, okay, so basically we're going to go, who calls drop, right? So we got drop called there. It's defined in a couple of places, and just those two places where it's properly defined. And then this is the only place it's called. So rather than create this drop method, why don't I just say this here, we'll say, this, yeah, dot falling equals new falling. And then we can get rid of drop and rest. We can get rid of drop and rest from every place. Oh, same thing here, rest, new resting. This dot falling equals new resting. So we get that cleaned up. Drop and rest. Okay, fall strategy. Oh, right. So I just replaced that. Okay, and so we don't have drop in there anymore. I've got no compile problems. So we'll rebuild it. And make sure that continues to work. So the stone falls and the box falls. Life is good. We'll go double check what we did. So we got rid of the drop and the rest. and we moved the falling state into false strategy. Oh, well, it looks like all we did was get rid of the drop and rest. We didn't really move anything in there. Oh yeah, right. So I did two things, and I probably should have checked in the first one and then the second, but that's the way it goes. So we moved reference to falling state. We added a getter. Added getter for falling state to false strategy, and we removed drop and rest methods. Okay, I'll check that in. Very good. Now, one quick check here. So we go back to our stone, which is here. All right, in the constructor, we've got the falling state. It's a false strategy. So basically we've got our false strategy is defined here. The constructor takes the falling state and we create a new false strategy. We've got our update method, which basically upstate calls a false strategy update, and then so everything is moved into the false strategy here. So you've got your update method, and that constructor, you pass in the falling state and you keep that as a local member variable. We've got our get falling, and so that returns the falling state. Now this is interesting. This dot falling. So he's suggesting we rename this to is falling, because basically we're just checking to see if this is falling. Okay, and then so you got falling resting, your tile. Okay, so this update, it was saying, right. So you pass in the tile here, which is right here. Go to the update in stone, right? And you got your update, you will pass in update this, right? So basically, you want to minimize just, we're wanting to clean this up so that, see here, this is talking directly to the map and everything. Well, we want to set ourselves up for map not being this global variable that everyone accesses. So when we have the ability to pass my own tile information around, then we'll want to do that. So we'll do that same thing here with this update. We'll pass this. Okay, now you see how this is a get falling. We need to change that to an is falling. And I don't remember why he wanted to rename that, but he did. And I'm sure if you get the book, then he'll explain it to you because I don't remember. All right. Let me see here. Right. The else if the following false strategy is true, false, otherwise already false. So up here in the false strategy, you've got this if this is falling, well, all right. So the else if falling, so here falling is true. It's set to false. So basically we're saying update here. So if it's air, else if it's falling. So if it's air, then it's not falling. Otherwise, it would be falling, right? So he's saying that basically let's just go look at this here. So you got your update method. So this one doesn't do anything, and this does nothing, this does nothing, nothing. This one here, okay, so if this is a stone and it's falling, so we'll call the update. Well, this isn't air, so, and it would be in this case, it would be falling. Is falling. What the heck? This is craziness. Something's not. I think I'm doing something wrong here, but that's okay. So this update, this is a box. This update does nothing. This update does nothing. Okay, so basically it's either a box or a stone, right? For update. We go up to the top here for update. Air, the update does nothing. Okay, we're not calling the false strategy, so it'll basically, so if that thing that we're going to is air, then we would be falling and we would be falling into it, right? So this falling is new falling. So he says if we look closely, the falling is true. If falling is true, then we set it to false, right? Otherwise, it's already false. Oh, I see, duh. So if it's true, we're setting it to false. Otherwise, we set it to false. Okay. So basically, it says we can just get rid of this. And that makes sense. All right. So here's the deal. We've got resting and falling here, right? So here we go. We got is falling and is resting. It's one or the other. And so it seems kind of silly that you've got both here, right? Let's go to our false strategy. So in the update, you've got this check. Right, so let's see what we changed here. So this was just we're in the middle of cleanup here, so I don't want to check this in just yet. So basically we got this update, falling, okay, so basically what we can do is we can sort of clean this up. We're setting this dot falling, right? So that equals, oops. So map y plus 1 is air, right? And then what we'll do is we'll put a ternary in here, right? So if it's air, then we'll say it's new falling. Otherwise, it's a new resting, right? So basically we're setting the falling or resting state, okay? And then we'll say that, oops, stop this. We'll say here, so here, if this dot falling dot is falling, then we will set the tile and set it to air, and we get rid of this. So that just kind of sticks the falling and resting stuff together, because later we're going to go and clean that up in a different way. Okay, so what we now do, we just got rid of the drop method. So we just got rid of the drop method, but what we can do here is reintroduce the drop method. Here, let's do our refactoring. So let's extract that to a method in fall strategy, and we'll call it drop. Except that it always screws up the parameters. So say date. So we'll create a new method called, this will be private just for this object. It's just used internally to the object, right? Tile, X number, yeah, Y number. Okay. And okay. Say this dot drop of tile X and Y. Okay, so we've extracted out the drop method. Here, locally, it's only used here because the problem was we've got that if statement down at the bottom. We want to get rid of that. But so, and we want to keep it to, remember, this is 5 lines of code. And so we wanted to keep it short. All right. So now, now we have the situation. Well, let's go ahead and we'll make sure that we didn't break anything with the stuff that we just did. It's a whole bunch of little cleanup things. Oh, and we did break something. Look at that. Holy cow, what the heck did I do? Get rid of this. Right. Okay, so we'll go ahead, rebuild this, and see if that cleans it up. Yes, good. So let me see what I broke there. So if let's go back to this method, this mess we had here in the fall strategy. So basically there's a bunch of little cleanup that we wanted to do. First, we wanted to say, okay, if this stopped falling, so basically, if it's true, then we're going to set it to falling. And if it's not falling, we're going to set it to falling. And if it's falling, we're going to set it to resting. But if it's not falling, we're going to set it to resting anyway. So we can get rid of that. So we take that out. All right. Make sure that I understood that logic correctly. Come back here. So this is working and it's falling correctly and everything works. All right. one of the advantages of making small changes. You roll back to what we just did. Okay, so we go to this update. We want to introduce the ternary here, right? So what we'll say, we're doing we want to separate out the falling and the dropping here, right? So first we'll create the ternary. So this dot falling equals, and we got map. Well, here, let's just join this up. This thing here, that is air. And we'll say question mark. So if that's true, then we'll say it's new falling. Oh, right. It's new falling. Else it'll be a new resting, right? So if it's air, then it'll be falling. Otherwise, it'll be a new resting. Okay. And so we can get rid of this. And then we'll do this here. We'll say if this dot falling dot is falling, then we'll do this thing here. What is not? Oh, man. Keeps thinking for me. Don't do that. Okay, so let's build that. Make sure we got that right. Okay, so that's all working fine. And then finally, we're going to turn this into a drop, right? So I'll just say here, private drop, and we'll pass in a tile X, which is a number, MBR, and which is a number. Okay, and we will add there, and we will go here and say drop. So if it's falling, this dot drop tile X, Y. I think I took that whole if statement out, didn't I? So let's do that. Forgot what I'm supposed to do here. Okay. Here, and so that is working. Indeed. Okay. So now, oh, that's it. So basically he's saying, we put the if statement here. Then we just call that, and the if statement is the first line of the method. And that's one of our rules, right? You don't want to have an if statement anyplace but the first line. So let's build this one last time. And yeah, that's probably what I did there. Okay. So everything drops and falls and moves and slides the way it's supposed to. So this is good. So we'll look and see a bunch of general cleanup here. So basically we cleaned up the update method. And we renamed the get falling to is falling. I think I missed the, see, is falling is Boolean here for falling state. Is falling is resting. Okay, and then here, so fall strategy, falling state, so it's either falling or resting. And I've got this, the thing that I'm kind of confused about is we've got this is falling. So, and it returns an is falling, which is a Boolean. So fall strategy, the is falling, Boolean. So fall strategy is falling returns this dot falling, which is, it's a falling state. So what this is suggesting is that, oh, I think I understand here. Okay, I think I misunderstood. So this is falling, right? So here, fall strategy, this still needs to be get falling, and we should have an is falling here that will return this dot falling dot is falling. Right, this dot falling dot is falling. But why would we do that? Okay, that's probably something I just skipped over, so sorry about that. But I will, let me just undo this. I'll leave it the way we have it here. So make sure I didn't break anything. And okay, so we get that, we check it, we basically cleaned up the update method. Dates. Check that in. Very good. Okay. And then I think we did this. Yeah, we combined the key and the lock into one, right? So that gets us to the point we wanted to be for this not using getters and setters. So, so what's the point of not using getters and setters, and what's that all about? Okay, well, so we look. The thing about getters and setters is it's a code smell, frankly. If you look generally, you know, if you in Java, the first thing you're going to do for every little object that you create, you're going to create a getter and a setter for each entry. What this does is it breaks encapsulation, and it causes your objects to be more tightly bound. So if you use what's called a push-based architecture, where you would sort of pass this sort of thing as a parameter, the things that you need to use, it I'm sorry, if you use a pull-based architecture, means that basically whoever wants to use this data has to call this get color and a set color to manipulate it and to munge with all the data. So that causes tight coupling between the objects. But if you use a push-based architecture, then basically I will be passing whatever values need to be manipulated to whatever function is going to manipulate them. So you keep the calculations close to the data, all right? So we want to be able to pass the data as parameters or arguments rather than doing this sort of thing. This is what's known as the law of Demeter. If you look in Uncle Bob's book, Clean Code, he discusses that. And the basically what that means is, you know, don't play with, I play with my toys and you play with your toys. You don't play with my toys and I don't play with your toys. Okay, so and the whole point of this is to keep the objects loosely coupled. So so let's get back to the code here. So if we look at our key configuration, object. So we've got this get color and get remove strategy. So what we'll do first to let's get rid of this one here. To get rid of it, we will go and make it private. And this will show you where things are going to start blowing up. So now we've got, it's used in these two places here. So we're going to, the get remove strategy here. So what we want to do is fix the errors. So so what we'll do this is basically, instead of get remove strategy, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to remove the lock that's on this key, or where the key is going to remove the lock. And that's what we're doing for this get remove strategy. We're going to remove whatever lock is there, and we're going to remove the appropriate lock. So what we'll do is in the key configuration, we will add a method called remove lock. And we will remove this dot remove strategy. Okay, so because that's basically what we're doing. So we're passing the remove strategy and then we're calling remove on it. Well, why don't we just do the function here and give it a more meaningful name and remove lock. So, oops, doggone it. So we'll go to this dot keyconf dot remove lock. There we go. Sorry. Trying to be clever. So we've just gotten rid of the get remove strategy. It's private. Now nobody calls it. You can see it's kind of dim, right? So nobody calls it. So compile that. Make sure it continues to work. See that the locks are in fact removed. Things drop the way you expected to. So we remove the get getter, right? Okay, so we did that. Now, let's go back to our key configuration here, and we see we have this get color. Well, do the same thing. We'll make it private, get color. See, we got a couple of places where it's unhappy about that. So here we're calling the get color. So so what we'll need to do is basically we're getting the color and setting the fill style in the graphics. Well, how about we have a method in the key configuration, just like we moved this remove call down here. We'll do a set color method here. And we'll pass G, set the canvas rendering context 2D. Pass that. And say here .g .fill style equals, well, get color, and this would be this .color, right? Because the keyconf.getColor, well, I've got the color, it's right there. So we're setting the color, the fill style there. So, and here, what we will say is this keyconf dot set color. And we'll pass in the graphics, right? Do the same thing here. Color, and we'll pass in the graphics. Okay, so this makes it more readable, and it gets rid of the getters and the setters. So that's pretty handy. So let's see here. If we look at the lock, right? So you got the lock and the key. I'll do the same thing, and good. So basically, we just removed the get color getter. Now, I know what you're thinking. Here, let's go ahead and build it, make sure we didn't break anything. I can hear you telling me, we just, that still works. Okay, you could say, you're telling me what we did, we replaced a getter with a setter. That's not right. Well, you're right, but this is not a setter in the same way that the other thing was a setter. We're not exposing local state. What we're doing is we have to manipulate this graphics object, and so that's this. This is an acceptable setter. Okay. Now, let's see here. So we've got that getter, that setter. Is there another getter? Oh, there's the get colors. Yeah, that's not used anymore. So we get rid of that. So, right, so remove unused method. I should have made that same thing. Okay, so next we look for a getter. We got the get graphics. That's not really what we're looking for. Let's get graphics, get element by ID, get context. It's telling me in the fall strategy, there's supposed to be a get falling. Oh, and then, okay, so I was confused about this for a good reason, because this is supposed to be get falling. Let's go back down here where we changed it to is. I have a feeling that will be fixed in the edit. Right, so we just rename that. Okay. So basically, we need to replace this get falling. So how do we do that? We go right here. We say make this private. All right. And we come down here to where it's blowing up, fall strategy gets, so this is a move horizontal and then is falling and it is falling. So basically what I want to do is I want to just move this move horizontal function into the fall strategy object, right? So where's my fall strategy get falling? So I will add here the move horizontal method and so what we need here is we'll need a tile and we'll need the dx because we're moving horizontal, right? So, and since I am the fall strategy, I don't need this. And get falling, move horizontal. I just say this dot falling, move horizontal, right? And that will be this. This will be tile. And dx is a number. Okay. And then I come down here. If this move horizontal, I will say this dot fall strategy dot move horizontal. Get this one here, this fall strategy, move horizontal. Okay. And then we've got this is falling. I wonder if this is called. You got the box and the stone. So we do we check an is falling state? I wonder. Is falling returns false key. Is falling. So that's drop. But that's checking against the falling state. Okay, so it looks like we might just be able to get rid of this. Let's try that. Well, okay, well, we got no compile problems. Build it. And fresh. So look at that. We're able to get rid of unused code. And we moved this, moved the move horizontal method into the fall strategy object. So we moved move horizontal method into fall strategy, and we removed unused is falling method from tiles. Okay, so check that in, and we're making some good progress. Okay, and the so did I in the fall strategy? We've got this get falling. Does anybody still call that? No. hello. Oh, come back here, boom. In the fall strategy object, get falling. So remove unused method. Okay, so I'll check that in. Excellent. Now, so we're in a good space here. Now we can look at this ternary operator. What is this? This is an if else, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we'll do this here. So how do we do that? Oh, so what he recommends is, and we'll you go to our tile interface and add a method called get block on top state. And that will have a falling state. So hang in there, you'll see where we're going with this, all right? And so here, if it's air, then you'll say get block on top state, and it will return a new falling, right? Okay, so basically we're taking this here. If it's falling, then it's a new air. So basically, falling is air. Okay, so we're going to say if it's falling, then we if it's air, then it'll be a falling. Otherwise, it's going to be a resting. So basically, we're going to take this, and so the first one, the air, is going to be falling, right? But if it's anything but air, then this is going to be a new resting, right? And so we'll just go and put that here. Oops. Okay. So we've added a simple method there, but now we can just change this to this dot falling equals, instead of is air, get block on top state. We can get rid of this here. We'll keep this dot drop, right? Right. Good. Let's make sure that that didn't break anything. Okay. Okay, so so we got rid of replaced the ternary check with by pushing code into tile object. We're a little too long. Well, you know what? You're just going to have to deal with that. So I think we've got this where we need to be. Got falling strategy. You got resting. Oh, okay. So one last thing here. The fall strategy, we've got this drop method. And what we'd like to do is, if it's falling, then we do this, otherwise not. Well, why don't we move that in here? And so we will say drop the tile, and then it will be your location X, number, and Y. We'll return a void. Okay, and if it's falling, drop drop, so be tile. Well, I guess I didn't save myself much there, did I? X and Y. Drop will do this. So if it's falling, then we will do this. Yeah, I've been doing this a while, can you tell? Okay, so there, and if it's resting, then we will do nothing. So here, got this private drop. We will do this dot falling dot drop tile X, Y. And if you look at this, you do this dot falling dot drop and get rid of this. Recompile it. Make sure that we didn't break anything. And everything's working fine. And I have gone on quite a bit. I think we'll leave it at this. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your patience. And I hope you enjoyed practicing refactoring with me. And we will do this again next week. So thanks again, guys. And we will talk to you all later. Bye.